back on the Hewitt Show. Alex Marlow in for Hugh. Vic Matus is my next guest from the Washington Free Beacon, Weekend and Culture editor there and co-host of the Getting Hammered podcast with Mary Catherine Ham. Now, Vic, what's funny is that the first time I ever met Mary Catherine was over a decade ago when she was visiting my neck of the woods out here in the greater LA area to host for Hugh Hewitt. And that was where I met her first. Super charming individual, as everyone knows, who has a television over the last 15 years. But you're a fun guy, Vic, and I like this because this is a fun day. What is your reaction to, as Dwayne was telling during the break, this is his melting chocolate bunnies day for the left?
Yes. Hello, Alex. Thank you for having me on the show and for guest hosting today, doing a great job. It's great because you get to see them say, well, once again, the Democrats are snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. And they're very upset because they wanted to have this discussion about the impending blue wave and the rise and the ascendancy in some places of socialism and how it's going to become much more acceptable and this great mandate for change. And surely, this was an uncomfortable time for Republicans to reckon with. Obviously, you have Virginia, you have New Jersey, New York City to a lesser extent. But decisive wins for Democrats and having to reckon with that and what that means as we get to 2026. And suddenly, seven very brave Democrats, I'll call them,
Yeah.
and one bold independent decided to say, you know what, enough with the shutdown. The election's over. We got what we wanted. Let's have a deal now because, in fact, the pressure is too much. We with the airports and federal workers, folks like Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia, they've got to be feeling the heat. But of course, as you know, Alex, when a Republican breaks ranks like John McCain, he's considered a renegade standing on principle. And when the Democrats do it, it's a great betrayal.
This is an interesting point that you make, which is that they frame this, and I haven't thought about this in years, which is that they frame it so that if Republicans change our mind, we're very noble, and if they change their mind, they're heretics, even though they weren't really asking for anything. And all of them acknowledge that there's all this suffering going on, and then these eight brave individuals alleviate us of the suffering. And yet they're the bad guys if you listen to younger Gen Z left-wing commentators today.
Yeah, that's right. If you look at the commentators, the mainstream media at large, the New York Times had a great headline that arrived in my inbox that said the Democrats were winning the shutdown argument. What happened? And they sounded so sad. And certainly those who are thinking about their presidential prospects in 2028, they're jumping on that bandwagon too. So Ro Khanna openly saying Chuck Schumer has to go, the Senate Minority Leader, and California Governor Gavin Newsom had one word: pathetic. So they're clearly going to exploit this for their own personal gain. But as you mentioned, what was the plan? And Angus King pointed this out today. He said, what was your alternative? What was the end game for holding out this long? And what it exposes is Democrats were perfectly fine to play games, certainly with the American people and with SNAP and with federal workers and healthcare because, they think this was working to their advantage, and the mainstream obviously sides with them. When Republicans in Congress end up being involved in a shutdown, if they're not in power, they get blamed. And if they are in power, they still get blamed. And it's quite puzzling, as you mentioned, because the Democrats, what they really wanted was, on the one hand, they're saying Republicans pull all the levers. They have the powers of, the legislative branch and the executive branch. And at the same time, all we want them to do is enact our Democratic agenda as if Joe Biden or Kamala Harris were president.
Yes.
And that's absurd. And they're talking about the killing of Obamacare. They're not killing it. They're ending pandemic, subsidies.
Yeah, exactly right, from the pandemic era. No, of course. So where do they go from here? Does Chuck Schumer have a political future? And this is the whole thing that it was so clear to, I think, most of us a month and a half ago, which is they had no end game. They had no exit strategy, to bring back a phrase from yesteryear, that this was kind of probably how it was going to end always. So then what's next for them?
Yeah, it's not actually looking good for the older establishment. As you know, in the House side, Nancy Pelosi, she's retiring. Chuck Schumer, everyone keeps on talking about. They won't let it go. They keep on talking about him getting challenged by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. and he's not going to want to face that. I mean, it's going to be their version of what people talk about the Tea Party type reckoning that happened after Obama, and having this sort of a cleaning of the house among Republicans. And for Democrats, it's going to be much worse because you have the Abigail Spanberger types on the one hand, and then you have the Zoran Mamdanis on the other. They can't actually coexist, I think, and one is going to want to dominate the other. And I do think that progressives have the edge over here. So again, even Hakeem Jeffries, they're watching over their shoulders right now. I think they're all worried about getting challenged. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that's exciting and a big opportunity for us, but it is a little scary when they think of Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer is not left enough. All right, Vic, I'm going to do something selfish because you wrote a whole book on vodka, how a colorless, odorless, flavorless spirit conquered America. Now, I'm an occasional vodka consumer, and I'll tell you, I've got a pretty good palate. And I want to get your take on gin because I feel like gin is just vodka that was ruined.
Yeah.
And I'm the only one who has this opinion. Everyone, it's very trendy to hate on vodka online. I think, why would you drink gin when you need perfectly good vodka and just ruin it with a bunch of botanicals? Like, it's just terrible. But you're the pro. You tell me.
I have to tell you, Alex, the more I researched and wrote about vodka in my book, the less of it I drank. And then I started to discover the other spirits, namely gin. I am now a huge gin person. I don't have a problem. I know. And I don't have a problem with gin drinkers. Some of my best friends are vodka drinkers, I should say. So, no. Derek Brown used to say, if somebody preferred vodka, he would say, "Do you like flavored vodka?" They'd say, "Yes." He goes, "Great. Let me give you this gin." But no, there's nothing wrong. Vodka is the most wonderful mixable spirit. You can put that on anything and it works wonders. You're not going to put gin in a Bloody Mary. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, it's. I feel like though gin's the only one that's ruined. I can get behind all the agave spirits. I think mezcal's my favorite, but Scotch, of course.
That's great smoking.
American whiskey industry is amazing these days. But I will say that I never understood the gin, and people are very snobbish if you prefer gin to vodka. And you wrote a whole book on vodka. But are you going to write a sequel? Is gin coming out soon?
No, I'm always tempted because gin is the big thing, and there have been a few books. But I'm telling you, come back to gin. Don't be afraid of it. Don't think about your college years, Alex. Come back.
Well, we'll have to get together, and you'll have to show me what I've been missing. All right. Definitely. Thank you, Dwayne, for indulging me. That was really important. And thank you, Vic Matus, Getting Hammered podcast with Mary Catherine Ham, and